Good morning. Welcome to Tip Off. Hope you guys are well. Uh, some funny things to start out with, and we'll dig into various stories around the NBA because they are loaded with them as snow falls this morning, which is nice. Uh, my kids were at the game last night, and they got the T-shirt. They shoot out the T-shirt, and my son says to me this morning, "I know why they roll them up in such a tight ball." I said, "Why?" He goes, "So you can't see what stupid things inside it." And I'm thinking to myself, he's 9, and he's already figured out the lunacy of 19,911 people going nuts when they shoot T-shirts out of cannons. T-shirts. I've always wondered about that in an NBA game. Then I posted this one the other day. I don't know if you heard it, but the my daughter loves NBA Jam, and she says, "Daddy, I beat the Lakers." And I said, "Good, that's good. We don't beat the Lakers for you." She goes, "I was Portland." Yeah, that was a tough blow. Hope you guys are good. Hope everything's going well for you. Today's edition brought to you again by our friends at Level 9 Sports. Level9sports.com is a worldwide.com supplier for great ski and snowboard equipment, but it happens to be located in downtown Salt Lake City at 660 South, 400 West. Their basic business model is that they, for the most part, get closeouts. Last year's models extras really that didn't sell, and then they sell them at incredibly low prices. This year they did some things differently. They also got some 2011 stuff. That 2011 stuff is on sale, and then what they can do to give you a better deal than you can get anywhere else is because they bought the closeout bindings from a year ago, or helmets from a year ago, or poles from a year ago, or they make their own poles actually. They can put those in free. And so you end up with the entire package for far less money than you would if you went somewhere else. You can check it out online at level9sports.com or stop by the really cool warehouse, 660 South, 400 West. Come off the freeway and just turn right on 400 West. They've got amazing stuff. The 2011 stuff, 2012 stuff, excuse me, all discounted with the Rossi S7s and the Atomics and all sorts of others. Don't buy the Rossi S7s because I'm going to go get myself an extra pair. They're that good. So don't buy those, but buy everything else. Hope you guys are good. All right. Let me touch on trade rumors because I'm getting a lot of that. I'm going to get a lot. And some of it's going to drive me nuts. Guys, there, in the day and age of the internet, when you read things from people, you've got to check the source. So if something's a Bleacher Report, those are really, for the most part, fans that are good writers, and they should be read. I mean, that's fine, but almost none of them have any connections to what's really going on, or and I don't want to make an overlandish thing, but let's just be careful um, on how we deal with that. Uh, just because something fit in a trade machine doesn't mean it's a trade rumor. Uh, there's the Ron, what was it, Millsap to Boston, and Ray Allen, and Ray Allen, I don't think's ever leaving Boston. His kid's got very, very serious diabetes. He's at a hospital there. Uh, he gets, I just, and he's on the last year of a contract. I just don't think he'd show up. So you got to understand the dynamics of what are taking place, and just make sure you understand where you're reading stuff from. If it comes from Wojo at Yahoo or Spears at Yahoo, it's pretty darn good. But otherwise, let's be really careful about how we read some of these things. Two NBA stories. We saw a vintage Deron last night. He felt that somehow he was slighted and by the Jeremy Lin stuff, and then just went and put it on him. I mean, it's the way he just annihilated Chris Paul every single time they played. It's the brilliance of Deron. It also is a little bit of the weakness of Deron. The weakness of Deron that that didn't happen every night, but I don't know who can play it that way. But that is what drove Deron to be the greatest point guard in the game for a period of time, and right there still, despite the fact he's playing on a terrible team. He's made really an incredibly awful roster relatively respectable, and he's fighting through it for this year. And we don't have that. That's the and that's why last night, late in the game, we don't win it. We don't win these close games right now. When we've won close games this year, you go back and look at it. It is almost every time it is that the other team's best player is not on the floor. And we don't have because we don't have the guy. Al's pretty good late in the games, but last night they double teamed him every time and simply took him away. And we don't have that guy that is able to take care of that. And that's the difference. And that's what separates great teams is the great player. And we've got to find that. Uh, and I don't know if I had to guess if any of our four youngsters have it. Frankly, Alec Burks is the one guy I think might. Um, I don't know if Cantor has that skill set. I don't know if Favors still gets pissed every time you talk to them about it. But if you watch him play, it's pretty undeniable that there has to be a little bit of a question on how much the Southern gentleman in him is preventing him from just being dominant. I mean, I wrote on Empty the Noggin last night. At some point, we have to stop banging on Tyrone Corbin to play Derrick Favors more, and Derrick Favors has to leave Ty Corbin no choice. Now, right now, Derrick Favors is leaving Ty Corbin a choice. And a coach will always go back to his veteran he believes in. Now, there's some problems where I don't think Favors is always being put in the best situation. Problem with no solution. So this is more a statement of fact, and that is that the minute Millsap and Jefferson start together, then you make your first substitution, which is Favors and Jefferson. They play for 2 or 3 minutes together. Then you make your next substitution, which is Cantor, and now Favors plays most of his minutes with Cantor, and this lineup doesn't work great. Ty's done a nice job recently. That group is playing less and less and less together, but they're still playing the majority of their time. I think Cantor played 2 minutes last night with Millsap, and Favors played 4 minutes last night with Jefferson. Favors' development would be far better if he was playing 24 minutes with one of those two. Cantor's development would be better if he was playing 18, 24 minutes with one of those two. But now you are no longer having, if you just go by the fact that for the first 6 minutes of the first and third quarter, Jefferson and Millsap are going to play together. And frankly, they're going to play the last 6 minutes together. Well, that's 18 minutes. Now we only have 30 other minutes to be played that night. And at some point, Millsap and Jefferson both rest. So I don't know how Ty's supposed to do that. But that's a little bit of the problem of where Favors hasn't been great. But he also let's put a little on our players. Let's tell our players it's time also. The other big story in the NBA is Kobe, and the Lakers. Kobe came out and demanded that the Lakers announce what they're planning to do with Pau Gasol, which is not helpful to the Lakers front office. Kupchak basically came out and said, we don't plan to do anything, and we're not going to do what our guy said. So the Lakers have got some pretty serious dysfunction right now in their transition out of Phil Jackson. And their big problem is that Kobe is not good enough to carry a team to win anymore. And you just can't do that at 40,000 minutes. You can't do it every night when you've played that many minutes. And they really should be transitioning to making it Gasol and Bynum's team with Kobe as a fabulous complementary piece, the way Garnett and Ray Allen have been a fabulous complementary piece to Paul Pierce and Rajon Rondo. But they don't, and the way that Tim Duncan's been a fabulous complementary piece to Tony Parker and to Manu Ginobili, but they don't have any chance of getting Kobe to do that. By the way, Jazz have a fabulous ticket package available for you. The Jazz will play Sacramento and Jimmer Fredette coming up on March 30th. That's piece one of that. But on March 15th, Ricky Rubio and Minnesota comes to town. And then on February 29th, so in reverse order, Houston comes to town. You get those 3 games. I believe it's only for like $87. Operators, you got to call them at 325-2999. 325-2999. Houston's our next home game. So make sure you check that out. They used to have a little Miami ticket package available. I'll bet you they could dig off the coffers out of that one for you. That's February 2nd. Those are the next 2 home games, are Houston and Miami. So get your tickets at 325-2999. Now, in regards to last night's game, I thought that was 48 minutes of pretty good effort. I mean, for everybody who's been, I just want effort. Okay, you got it. You got effort last night. And you got, without Raja Bell, you got C.J. Miles and Josh Howard to step up and play pretty well last night, which was a great sign for the Jazz. They had pretty darn good games last night against the Spurs. The offense late came to a halt. And from my standpoint, what happened is with 5 minutes left, And we're gonna. Goes back to having that guy. With 5 minutes left, and there could be some future ramifications of this that are worth watching. And if I get time today, I will rewatch the final 5 minutes of this game via Synergy probably. But back-to-back buckets by Al Jefferson on Tim Duncan. And then the Spurs decide we're doubling Al every possession. Now, Al passed out of the double team, which is what we've begged him and asked him to do, and we got almost nothing out of it. Second thing is, so what's our next offense? The Spurs play in such a fashion that you really can't run a side pick and roll on them. Duncan's too good with it. They push down the baseline. They do all the things. The Jazz don't have the personnel to run a side pick, so that's out. Millsap, for whatever reason, couldn't beat Matt Bonner and the team defense of the San Antonio Spurs. And without Splitter in the game and Splitter being available, the guy you got to take advantage of is Matt Bonner in there, and Paul couldn't do it. Paul went vintage Millsap last night. He went back to fabulous first year, grabbing rebounds, battling, outworking, amazing you with his effort last night, which was great and maybe a huge step for him because sometimes when things have gone wrong, since he's become the scorer, he didn't do that as much. But last night he certainly did. But he couldn't beat Matt Bonner, which really led the Jazz to kind of the only play they had left was a high pick and roll with Devin Harris and Al Jefferson, and that's what the Jazz ran out of that. I'll go back and review. The only other thing I think the Jazz could have run at that time period would have been Gordon Hayward with off an Al Jefferson side pick and see what they were able to get there, but I'm not sure that they ran that or that it would have been successful. But I'm going to go back and kind of run through the final 5 minutes if I get a chance today. I'm taping a podcast with Chuck Cooperstein. I know a bunch of you wanted me to do a vocal. I don't think that's getting done unless I might hit up a vocal upon arriving Minnesota tonight. That would probably be the possibility of when I get that done. So anyway, that's I think what happened offensively in most of the ways last night. And probably the area where they caused the most issues. Let's see. What else did I have written down? I thought those were really important minutes last night. I thought those were some of the more important minutes that you can get last night. Cantor going up against Duncan. Favors with some big minutes. Burks out there. I thought Burks played really well last night. Burks is going to get better and better, and I said I'll be stunned if he's ever out of the rotation again. I just think and I think there's something to this on Burks. We all have such a positive. We positively look at our rookies. He's shooting probably below 40% now. I haven't looked today, and yet we still look at it so positively. But some part of me feels like the more time Burks gets on the floor, the more he might slow down and play the game a bit more comfortably rather than trying to force it. And he seems to be, as he's in the rotation right now, he seems to be doing that, which I think is a step in the right direction. All right, let me go see if there's any quick tip-off questions I can access for you. I feel like I'm really missing something on last night's game. But we shall see whether or not that actually is true when I think back about it. Favors had 0 rebounds last night. Should this be concerning? Yes. Yes. I need Favors to take some steps. Not give Favors minutes. I need Favors to take some steps from my standpoint as a fan watching this team. Yes. 0 rebound. I talked to Mike Sanders about this last night. The offensive rebounding, you're able to get a running start and you're able to kind of use athleticism and make your play. Defensive rebounding, you've got to anticipate, you've got to box out, you've got to really do some of those things, not use your athleticism. He did point out that Favors almost overhelps sometimes. That Favors is too much of a help guy, and so he's going for the block shot, and he's not there. But yes, he's got to become a defensive rebounder. And maybe I'll look up some of the numbers on Hoop Data today and find out what his rebounding rate is compared to other guys. But I don't think it's very good. Who will be the better offensive player, Favors or Cantor, and what is their ceiling? From Mark Jensen. I think Favors is going to become a 5 and Cantor's going to become a 4. And I don't think it really matters. But what I think is that Cantor's going to become a pick and pop guy. He really can hit that shot, almost Marcus Gasol-esque, and then do just enough in the post. Couple that with his fabulous rebounding and good defense. I think this guy is going to be close to being a 16, 17, 10 rebound guy. And Favors, I don't know how he's going to get 10 rebounds, but he's going to be about a 12 or 13, 14 point guy right now. That's where I see both of them developing. Favors has got to get a post move. Right now, Favors does so many different things in the post. He doesn't have one thing he's building off of. So he needs to create what his one move is. It's beginning from the left block to be a right move to the middle. And it needs to have one thing to do. And then build stuff off of that. And right now he doesn't have that because he does so many different things with the basketball. That is time, coaching, practice, confidence, and those are things that between New Jersey and Utah last year, he lost half the year because New Jersey didn't do a lot of it because there's a bunch of reasons working against 21-year-old or 20-year-old Derrick Favors. Let's remember that. Derrick is 20 years old, and that makes a lot of this very difficult for him. All right, good questions coming in there. I'll see if we can drop a vocal later today. I'm going to go make the kids, they're out of school today. They're waffles and pancakes and all that fun stuff, and then come back. Reminder, Jazz tickets available. Minnesota, Houston, and Sacramento is the package. Call 325-2999. Thanks to Level9Sports.com for bringing you today's edition of Tip-Off. You know, if you'd like to get your name mentioned on Tip-Off, you can call Chris Barney at 801-325-2500. Trying to make a living here. 801-325-2500. Okay, see you.